The Red Death has been revealed for the final season of The Flash, but not everyone's happy. Let's talk about it. What's going on, guys? That guy right here, and thank you so much for stopping by. I wanted to do a whole video talking about the most recent casting for the Red Death, the character of Red Death, explain a little bit of the backstory and why this is potentially one of the biggest things to happen for The Flash Season 9 yet. So obviously, if you guys have been paying attention, the final season of The Flash is underway. They are currently filming, and we're getting little bits of nuggets of information about the final season, characters that may be involved. However, I'm pretty sure that they're going to keep a lot of things secret until the finale. But in terms of some of the key characters, we've definitely gotten a bit of information. One of those key characters that we recently found out about is the Red Death. Now, the Red Death is a big deal because this is a combination. This character is a combination of two of the most, I would say, iconic characters within the DC, universe, being Batman and the Flash. And so we're going to get into, some of the origins. We're going to get into some of the details. And I think we'll start things off with why people are upset. So people are upset about the Red Death because, as we know, the Red Death is the fusion of Batman and the Flash from Earth 52. However, they didn't cast, Batman as being the Black Flash in this show. Instead, they casted Javicia Leslie, who was originally Batwoman for the second season to the end of its life. The previous CW show that got canceled, they casted her as the Black Flash. Now, this is nothing against the actress. I think the actress herself is pretty solid. I didn't like Batwoman at all, even before she came on. Even when it was Ruby Rose, I didn't like the character. I didn't like the show. It just wasn't for me. I felt like it was just super corny. And that's just my honest opinion. If you love the show, that's great. This is even better for you. But a lot of people don't seem to be happy about this, and I think it's because they don't really understand why this is happening. I think it makes sense that you would expect that if you know the character of the Red Death, you would expect it to be Bruce Wayne. But I think it comes down really to licensing. I'm pretty sure that the reason that they haven't mentioned or they haven't brought in Bruce Wayne and they decided to go this route is this is probably the most that they could potentially do with getting a Batman-like character without actually getting Bruce Wayne or casting a Batman. And I think part of that is because of licensing. I don't think CW has the licensing to use Batman. The closest thing we got to Batman in a kind of a TV format was Gotham. And that was Fox. So I think in terms of licensing, I don't know if CW has that. If you have any other information about that, please let me know down in the comment section. But my guesstimate is that they don't have the licensing to use Batman. And throughout the course of watching Arrow and The Flash, I've only heard Bruce Wayne, his name, mentioned a handful of times. They have not really mentioned him too many times. I think that's probably the most that they could do is mention Bruce Wayne, that he exists in this universe. But we've never seen him. I'm sure if they had the licensing, we definitely would have seen Batman. If CW had the licensing, we probably would have seen a Batman show instead of Batwoman, but they were able to use Batwoman, and I think this is kind of a loophole that they were trying to use to get around this and still be able to bring in the character in a way that makes sense. My prediction, if you've seen my TikTok, my prediction is that they are going to, use some sort of multiverse thing to kind of flip it on its head and allow them to still be able to do this. But yeah, that's my reasoning, and that's why, after thinking about it, I'm not totally upset by this decision. I'm glad that they're bringing in the Red Death, and I hope as long as Javicia Leslie does the character justice, I'm fine with it. Well, there's an article that was brought up by Screen Rant that I wanted to read with you guys because I think it has a lot of valuable information and can fully explain how the Red Death is going to play into this, who the character is, and why this is potentially going to be kind of the biggest showdown for Barry Allen yet. So I'll have the parts of the article posted up on the screen somewhere around here, somewhere probably over here, so you'll see them. But the article starts off by saying the Red Death, Flash Season 9's evil Batwoman explained. In The Flash Season 9, the series will introduce an evil Batwoman with Speedster. Here's what to expect from the Arrowverse's Red Death. And I can't wait to see the character in action. I can't wait to see the suit, man. But the article continues on and says, Red Death, the Arrowverse's evil Batwoman, is joining The Flash Season 9. Set photos from The Flash that you can click on. You can see them. I think if you saw my TikTok, you've already seen some of the images. Season 9 confirms that after making a guest appearance in season 8's Armageddon crossover, Batwoman star Javicia Leslie will be back for another stint on The Flash. But instead of simply playing Batwoman, the actress will be bringing a different DC comic character to life on the small screen. So Black Flash, known as a corrupted speedster version of Batman from alternate universe in DC Comics, Red Death is one of only handful of villains from Flash's Rogues Gallery that has yet to appear in the Arrowverse. And people have been asking for this for a long time. I think Red Death has been teased, I think, going back since like season 7. So here we are, season 9, and it's finally happening. However, it would seem that the Flash intends to change that with the show's final season. Her costume is set in the set photos indicates she'll betray Red Death when the series returns. For years, it was suspected that the show's Red Death tease was just an Easter egg, but now the setup is finally coming to fruition. And with the decision to cast Leslie as the character, the show has offered a major twist on the Red Death concept from DC Comics. But with that being said, there's a good chance that several elements of the original character's story will be implemented into the Arrowverse. Here's who Red Death is in the comic books and what to expect from the Flash's interpretation of the villain. So obviously, like I said before, due to licensing, I would assume they are not going to be, there's going to be some things that are likely going to be flipped around. They're going to be changed up a little bit, but I have faith that they're going to try their best to stay true to the comics and stay true to the character while making some adjustments so that it makes sense in the timeline that they've created. I'm surprised, before we go any further, I'm surprised that they're doing the Red Death, to be honest with you. I originally thought this was just for Easter eggs and just for little teasers. However, here we are, Red Death is coming, and I can only assume that this is going to be a big character in the season, and that it's not just going to be a little one-off episode, cameo. They also teased Cobalt Blue at the final episode of season 8, so we can only assume that they're going to continue to play off that, which gives the actor who played Eddie Thawne a chance to come back into the show for a final season as well. We haven't even talked about cameos and things. I would assume Cisco and those characters, maybe Wells coming back, will probably be left as a surprise, but we'll see. So Red Death's origin and powers explained. In DC Comics, Red Death was introduced as a version of Bruce Wayne from a different world in the multiverse. On his world, Batman ultimately lost the fight with organized crime in Gotham City, but while he lived through it, many of his allies didn't. The death and failure of Batman experience led him to believe that what he really needed was the Speed Force. Convinced that his knowledge and training made him better suited for being the Speed Force avatar than Barry Allen, Bruce Wayne decided that he would stop at nothing to obtain that power. After defeating Barry's villains and stealing their gadgets, Batman beat Flash and had incidentally did so much more than just steal Barry's speed. So the fight culminated in Barry and Bruce fusing into one person, with Batman remaining in control. As Red Death, Bruce unleashed destruction on Gotham City and wiped out all his enemies one by one. I mean, you can see why. Having given in to his darkest impulses, Batman became increasingly unhinged and ruthless. Together with other evil versions of Batman, Red Death crossed over to the main timeline and began a long, hard-fought battle with the Justice League. With his power, with his speed, tactical genius, and fighting skills, Red Death was easily one of the deadliest speedsters Barry had ever encountered, and a powerful foe for DC heroes to overcome. Red Death was such a formidable opponent that Barry alone couldn't defeat him in combat. It took the combined efforts of other heroes, with Flash leading the way, to bring him down. That's insane. And it makes me wonder how they're going to build out this character and his, ruthlessness in only 13 episodes. Because if we remember correctly, this season of The Flash, the final season, is going to be its shortest season yet, with only 13 episodes. I mean, that's almost, 10 episodes less than a normal season? Normal seasons typically go for about 22, 23 episodes, and they're doing this in 13. So not only are they going to have to reintroduce what's happening, they're going to have to bring in the Red Death, have them have some epic showdown in that fight, and then have some sort of culmination finale that likely ends us in tears, and have it wrap up in a final episode. That's going to be pretty insane. Now, granted, in past seasons, there's been about a third of the season has been fillers with nothing really happening to progress the plot. So I think maybe this 13 episodes could be perfect for them, in which they kind of get rid of all those little, wasted episodes that they usually just plop in, and have it just be mainly about this story, about this arc, and just have it progress. If they do it correctly, I think they could do it. 13 episodes isn't a lot, but if it's entirely focused on Red Death and this big showdown, I think it can be done. So how the Flash has already set up Red Death. So obviously, as I said, you know, we've seen this in the past couple episodes or past couple seasons. They've mentioned Red Death. We thought that, you know, what Barry had done to Reverse Flash, removing his powers, there was the assumption and a lot of theories going around that this is what created Red Death. So potentially they could still be playing off of that. We'll see. So the article continues on and says that the Flash laid the groundwork for Red Death appearance in the Arrowverse with a direct reference to the character in a season 5. Season 5, dude, this was years ago. In a recording from the future where Barry talked about Cicada, he claimed that the latter's killing spree had exceeded even that of Red Death's. While this comment included no confirmation of which Arrowverse character was behind the mask, it was widely assumed that at the time that this version of Barry fought an evil Bruce Wayne from one of the many timelines that exists in the Arrowverse's multiverse. That made sense, especially since it's no secret that Bruce Wayne is Arrowverse canon. Yeah, we've talked about it before. They've mentioned it before in previous seasons that Bruce Wayne did exist inside the Arrowverse. We just never saw him because of, you know, contracts or money or licensing or whatever. Later on though, theories emerged that Flash's Red Death isn't Batman. During season 8's Armageddon story, Batwoman made a reference to a battle with a villainous female speedster whom she called Lady in Red. Oh, see, I missed that. So I guess it does make sense. Since DC Comics doesn't have obvious female villains who fit that description, there became reason to suspect that the Lady in Red and the Arrowverse's Red Death are one and the same. Wow, so maybe they, you know, back in season 8, they might have been building towards this before we even knew it, that this was going to happen. Now, granted, I don't think they knew that the Flash was going to be ending when it did, because the showrunner had specifically stated that he had seasons planned for how he wanted this story to go and ultimately end. And it looks like they're going to definitely have to like cut a lot of that out and really just get to what the biggest thing was, which potentially was Red Death from the beginning. So what does Red Death mean for the Flash's season 9 story? So the set photos of Leslie's Ryan Wilder suited up as Red Death solves one huge Arrowverse mystery. Now it's understood once and for all that instead of Batman becoming an evil speedster, it was Batwoman who went down that path in the Arrowverse. As for which Batwoman it'll be, that's hard to say at this juncture. If the comics are any indication, it won't be the version viewers are familiar with. If that's true, the Flash's season 9's Batwoman would be a new incarnation of the character from a possible future. As for Earth Prime's Batwoman, it stands to reason that she'll appear in some capacity, as it's hard to imagine Team Flash not seeking her out when Red Death arrives. If that happens, Barry could count on Batwoman to serve as an ally to the fight against Red Death. Now, this is cool because we potentially could see, I don't think we'll see a crossover again. I don't know if they have the money or the time with 13 episodes to bring in Black Lightning and all these other characters, Supergirl, Arrow, although that would be awesome to bring those characters in. There would require some serious explanation and some serious world building, I feel like, to make that make sense, given what we know about Arrow's fate, given the fact that Supergirl is done. I don't know how they bring these characters in. I would love that to happen. I would love for there to be a showdown between Supergirl, Flash, Arrow, Cisco could come back. You know, I think that would be a great opportunity, but I don't know. Money is a big thing that the CW has struggled with in the past, even in its final season. I don't want to set expectations too high because, you know, with CW, you really never know. But it would be cool to see, like I said, Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, Cisco, and Batwoman facing off against the Red Death in the final season. That would be awesome. As for what makes Red Death so evil, the Flash season 9 can use Ryan's own backstory to explain her motivations. In the show, Ryan and her team are trying to protect a Gotham City that's no longer being safeguarded by the original Batwoman or Batman. It may be that in her timeline, she couldn't live up to the legacy of her predecessors, save Gotham, or even keep her allies alive. The downfall of Gotham or the deaths of her friends could have driven Ryan towards seeking out and potentially killing her timeline's Barry Allen over control of the Speed Force. And similar to Superman and Lois's John Henry Irons, Red Death may have come to Earth Prime to survive the collapse of the multiverse. So I wonder if Red Death has been here the whole time, we just never knew. That would be insane. I would anticipate that, because season 8, season 7, I think, started the whole like Earth Prime situation, right? Season 7, season 8, something like that. It's surprising that Red Death never showed herself before then. So Red Death's upcoming clash with Grant Gustin's Barry Allen in The Flash promises to be a fateful encounter, and without question, one of the season's biggest stories. After all, it's hard to imagine a character with this much backstory getting held to one single episode arc. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is definitely going to be the main conflict of the final season. If not Cobalt Blue may be a small part of it, but I would anticipate the Red Death to be like the major focal point, the final showdown. I had always hoped that it would be a final showdown with Reverse Flash, but since they already used Reverse Flash 10 Ways to Sunday, I do not want to see Reverse Flash show up again. I'm sorry. Rather, there's much better odds of Javicia Leslie's Red Death being one of at least 2 main villains for the Flash's 9th season. With there only being 13 episodes left in the show's run, 6 or 7 could be devoted to combating Cobalt Blue. True, so they could split it in half, whereas the rest could be devoted, could make up a Red Death arc. Alternatively, the Flash could use the 2 characters simultaneously and build toward a villain team up for an epic series finale. Either way, the inclusion of 2 extremely powerful speedster villains sets up a rough, challenging year for Barry Allen for when 2023 rolls around. And yeah, that's where the article ends. Incredible article. Like I said, this came from Screen Rant. It was written by Charles Nicholas Raymond, and I think does a great job of explaining Red Death's origins, how this character could potentially fit into the Arrowverse. Now, we have to remember, this is not, may not be the Red Death that you know. As you know, the character is historically Batman. But like I said, due to licensing, potentially money, probably licensing, they probably are not allowed to use the character of Batman. And so they decide, but they do have Batwoman, so this could just be a version of Batwoman that fits into this role. And I'm holding out hope. After reading this article, I have some high hopes for this season. I think if they bring in Cobalt Blue and Red Death, that's a big deal, because they're bringing in 2 completely new characters that we haven't seen for the Flash's final showdown. Very powerful characters. And I hope that the Red Death has like that Zoom level ferocity. I hope that they don't just make the Red Death as a character just kind of a pushover. Not as scary. Like, I've always wanted them to go back to the Zoom days when they had the character of Zoom. When he had the mask on, he had just this ferocious sounding voice. And I always thought that was the coolest thing. Even Reverse Flash kind of had that when he put on the suit and the red eyes and stuff. Like, I hope Cobalt Blue has something like that, and I hope that they do the same thing with the Red Death, and give them unique qualities that really make them kind of fearful in Arrowverse's, in Flash's universe. But yeah, I'm excited about this. I think the Red Death being in is a great final villain for Barry Allen to go against, and I wanted the villain to be someone that's really strong, really powerful, and not just, Reverse Flash terrorizing Barry Allen for the 12th time. But let me know what you guys think about this. Let me know what your thoughts are. Are you excited about this? Do you think that there's hope for the Flash's final season? And I really hope that if you're pessimistic, or you're a little, kind of on edge, not really sure what's going to happen, I totally understand. But I would hope that we can all keep an open mind and give Javicia Leslie the chance to bring in Red Death, given the fact that she's not going to be Batwoman specifically. She'll be a whole new character. I hope that it gives her a chance, a little bit of freedom to bring in a different level of spice to a new character. That's my hope, and I hope that I really hope they don't screw it up. But I'm trying to be positive and hope for the best. But let me know what you guys think about this down in the comment section. Are you excited about this? Let me know if there's anything that I missed in this explanation of the Red Death. And yeah, I'd love to have a conversation with you guys. If you haven't already, join our Discord. We got a whole Flash section talking about the Flash. I'm posting updates and articles that I find for you guys to check out for yourselves, and just having a conversation about this. The 9th season is on its way. 2023 will be here before we know it, and I cannot wait to share my experience with you guys for each and every one of these final episodes. But let me know what you guys think. Drop a like on this video if you did enjoy, and subscribe if you're new here. We'd love to have you. But as always, thank you so much for watching. My name is That Guy Rye, and I'll see you guys next time.